Oil and gas production in Nigeria dates back to 1958, when the first oil was drilled in Oloibiri, present-day Bayelsa State. Besides oil, Nigeria has substantial reserves of natural gas. Currently, the Nigeria gas reserve is estimated around 206 trillion standard cubic feet, the largest in sub-Saharan Africa and top 10 in the world. As with many other natural resources that abound in the country, Nigeria's gas potential is yet to be fully explored.
When active production began, 1958, because active exploration started in 56, successful exploration by Shell. But in 2 years, in less than 2 years, they started exporting, which means producing and exporting. Of course, it came with gas.
They discovered gas while looking for oil accidentally. And each time they discovered gas was treated as a nuisance. So they just capped it and moved on.
Nobody knew what to do with gas as at that point in time. So the only thing you can do is to burn it.
A noticeable increase in gas production commenced in the early 70s. The volume of production then was around 2.7 billion standard cubic feet daily.
Because of where we're coming from, poor knowledge of gas, even the commercial knowledge is still not particularly very much out there. Only few people really understand it. Technically, it's even much more difficult to handle than oil. Even the marketing of it is also different from oil. So the whole chain of really making gas to become value, it's not like the oil chain.
As at that time, a domestic market had been created for the consumption of produced gas in the eastern part of the country, close to the gas source. Although the consumption of natural gas increased steadily in the late 70s and 80s, it was only about 20% of Nigeria's total production being used.
Since then, the domestic aspect too had picked up. Mainly we've been using it for power generation and very little bit of it for industrial use so far.
However, gas discovery was seen as a nuisance to oil exploration as it was never intended. It was merely an associated commodity, as was the practice then. No one set out to find gas. Rather, they sought oil and found gas alongside.
When we started the oil industry in Nigeria, the oil industry was focused on the production of oil. So even our laws did not provide for gas production. Our gas production, the laws you actually produce gas on the back of oil.
Gas as well as oil, they live in the same compartments under the ground.
The focus was on oil, and gas was then seen as a byproduct, if anything, a nuisance at the time.
It wasn't just a case of Nigeria, really. Anywhere in the whole West, at that point in time, gas wasn't particularly too easy commodity to monetize or even use.
Before now, when gas is discovered, it is considered a nuisance and simply capped. But right now, especially with the legislative and fiscal and physical infrastructure that have been in place, when you discover gas, you discover treasure. So gas development as a standalone energy community gives a lot of value.
The steady increase in production in recent times, linked to the discovery of more non-associated gas reserves in deeper reservoirs, the development of deep offshore oil fields with huge associated gas reserves.
Actually a gas territory and not necessarily an oil territory, because today we have about 203 trillion standard cubic feet of gas as our reserve, and potentially up to 600 trillion standard cubic foot of gas. That is enormous resources.
We haven't particularly focused on gas before. I'm sure if you get into the books in the DPR, you'll see figures like 203 trillion cubic feet of gas reserves that you have. Fine. All that were found accidentally. We have not, up till now, gone for conscious exploration of gas. That 200 TCF was found when we were looking for oil. In my days, when we drilled wells, of course, we are looking for oil, and we find gas. People come to commiserate with me as if I have lost somebody, because you didn't hit the right thing you're looking for.
As at then, the nation had no use for the associated gas, hence the flaring.
Right from when we first found oil in Oloibiri, it was excitement for the nation. The dollars were rolling in. We're doing great, and gas was then being looked at as a nuisance byproduct. There was actually a time where we were flaring almost $2 billion worth of gas. You can imagine.
We're burning cash in terms of flaring gas. If you look at how much money we make from gas sales today, that's how much money we're burning per day or per annum, including paying penalty for that flaring. So that has been the story of gas in Nigeria, where gas has been flared for 60 years because there was no outlet for it.
In its bid to create value for associated gas, which was routinely being flared and had become a huge environmental issue, key stakeholders and the federal government initiated several projects to increase gas utilization in the country from the mid-1960s to the late 1990s. The decision signaled the commercialization of Nigeria's huge gas potential.
We began some very basic usage of gas, LPG, little things and all that. Maybe running some little plants. But I will say it was only in the 90s that, maybe late 80s and 90s, that real big usage of gas really began. And I think the biggest as at that time, of course, was the Nigerian LNG, which takes both associated as well as non-associated gas, liquefy it and sell it to off-takers abroad.
We have 203 TCM. Our production today, with best of intention, is around 8 BCM daily. Out of this 8 BCM, the domestic market consumes just about 1.6 out of the 8 BCM. About 3.5 of this is compressed for export through the Nigerian LNG. About 2.5 is used for re-injection to produce more oil. And then we are flaring about between 500 to about 700 million scarf today. So if you look at it, you realize that this commodity that is a catalyst for developing our own country is literally not utilized.
We are located in Marginal Field in 2004. We brought this field on production in 2007. Incidentally, the field, which is now called the Egboma Field, is a gas condensate field. From 2007 to 2019, which is about 12 years, we were producing essentially condensate and some black oil. And the associated gas with that condensate production was about 20 to 25 million scuff of gas a day, which we were flaring. And we were flaring this because there was no infrastructure whatsoever to take that gas to the market. But since the end of 2019, following the completion of one half of the OB3 pipeline, Platform has installed infrastructure, including compressors. And that same 25 million scuff of gas that had been flaring for 12 years is now being sold into the domestic market.
With determination and vigor, the government, alongside other energy partners, commenced gas export business through the Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas (NLNG) company.
The first outlet for gas, meaningful outlet for large volume of gas, was the NLNG, which is 20 years old now in terms of delivering gas, but 30 years old in terms of when the project started.
Today, the Nigeria LNG is an example of a strong policy direction, successful business endeavor, and strong partnership that has continued to yield results and bring satisfaction to the nation.
Between 1999 and 2006, we built 6 trains. And if you imagine that the original ambition was just to build trains 1 and 2, but then we got better after the first 2 and gained more confidence knowing what to do. Built a third, then built trains 4 and 5, and ultimately built 6. To the extent that between 1999 and 2007, we were seen as the fastest growing LNG company in the world, because every 18 months we were adding new capacity.
NLNG is owned by a consortium of 4 stakeholders: the federal government, through the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, with 49% stake, Shell, with 25.6%, Total, with 15%, and Eni, 10% stake.